Well, hello fans. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Spoilers, and today we're talking spoilers for Ready Player One. Now, I was lucky enough to attend the advanced screening for this movie. I was able to bring my brother-in-law Philip along. We both read the book beforehand, which I thoroughly enjoyed the book. Did you?
I couldn't put it down myself. Page Turner, I spent 3 straight days reading it as much time as I had, so it's definitely something you should all get out and read.
Yes, it is very good, and I remember I got the book for Christmas. When I saw the trailer, I just said to myself, I have to have this book so I can read it before the movie comes out. It just looks amazing, all of the fan service, all of the nostalgia in it. So going into it, the movie is different from the book. Steven Spielberg directed it, and he decided he wanted to change a few things so that people didn't feel alienated, because there are a lot of references in the book that even I didn't get. Did you get?
There's even more, yes, it definitely plays to more of a growing up in the late 70s, early 80s audience. So you're looking at the 40s something generation. So music and pop cultural icons of that era. Certain things even I got being born in 1982, but some things were completely over my head. So it definitely makes sense to cater to a younger audience and having a little bit of change that way.
Exactly. And I was born in 1990, so there are just things. I would read the book whenever I take a break, hop on Wikipedia, like, ooh, what is this? And I did manage to review it. The review's up on the blog. I think I gave it an 8.7 out of 10. And if I didn't read the book first, it probably would have got a higher score for me. But that book is so meaty with just so many rich things. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that first. What are some things you liked about the film?
I enjoyed how there was still a plot that mirrored enough of the book that gave the movie its substance. And that's hard to do with a book like that that's very rich. I definitely think that, along with the action sequences, and really even the slight humor that's involved throughout, kept it light, so it wasn't as maybe dark or heavy as the book is. So I definitely think that helped.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the characters in the film. I enjoyed the CG elements that look great, how their avatars are all uniquely different. Some avatars are basically people just chose video game or pop culture characters, but I really like the main characters. They chose totally different avatars and nothing you've ever seen before, so those look great. The motion capture, it transferred over well. You could definitely tell who was who.
And as a side note, I do think those main characters were true to the book's description of them as well, so that definitely was something that I looked at. And you could definitely see that they put in the time and effort to make those as accurate as possible.
Yes, I really did enjoy that as well. The story, the overall task that they have to do to get the copper, the jade, and the crystal key, they retain the same heart. It's not the exact same things, but one thing that I actually liked more, the race sequence to get the race for the copper key is not in the book at all, but that was a fantastic change. Bravo to Steven Spielberg for that. That whole sequence is amazing. There's they have to race through, I think it's a form of Detroit mixed with New York. There's the T-Rex from Jurassic Park shows up to eat people. King Kong shows up. Definitely. The vehicles, there's like the Mach 5. Is it Mach 5 from Speed Racer?
Yep.
That's in there. Parzival, who's the main character, he has a DeLorean fit with a kit and like a Ghostbuster sticker on it. H has the Bigfoot monster truck, and Artemis has the Kira motorcycle bike, and it was just great watching that sequence. It is very beautiful. And that's the one from the trailer, and it just blew my socks off from when I was surprised how early in the film that sequence showed up. But that was great. Also, during the second task, I don't know, have you seen The Shining?
I have seen parts of it. I've seen those parts that are in The Shining, or that have been alluded to in the film here, but I've not seen it in its entirety. Part of me was always scared
Yeah, and the second sequence involves pretty much a digital recreation of The Shining in the Oasis where they're at, and it looks great. It looks almost like they CG these characters into the Shining movie at certain points, and I was just like, this is crazy. But that was a great change because I feel like a lot of people do pretty much know what The Shining is, and if not, you know who Stephen King is.
Sure.
So it's something you can easily pick up. But let's get into what are things that you wish they kept from the novel and translated over to the film?
I think my first thing would have been more along the overall plot, keeping the characters separate. One of the big things in the book is they don't meet each other in person until the very end of the book, where here it was very early on, and I feel like that kind of took away from the idea of being in but not in real life. And so the idea there of keeping them apart longer gives that more substance when they actually do meet in person in the book, which was not the case in the film. And I think it lost, in my mind, a little bit of stars in my own rank. You know, maybe I'm not whatever you gave, 7.
8.7.
8.7. I was thinking more like 6.5.
6.5.
But I'm more tailored to how authentic it can be to the book, and so stuff like that, those nuances. Another thing, only because I live in Ohio, the book talks about Middletown, Ohio, which is where the author sets this particular main person, and Middletown, Ohio is all of 25 minutes away from me, and so no mention of Middletown as an actual city was a little disheartening. Columbus was there, but that's kind of obvious based on more of the book plot. So those were things for me specifically. More generic, I think I would have enjoyed seeing Blade Runner stuff.
That was
in
a
there
great sequence in the book, yes.
that is not there. And even some of the other games that are mentioned as part of the plots, I think that would have been cool for more of the Jade Key stuff. But
yeah, I think I really love how the book, it goes into depth more with each character. Like, you learn a little more about them. I know the movie has to, so to speak, has to rush things, so to speak, just to fit it, or else you'll get like a 4-hour film. But like the character of Wade Watts in the beginning of the book, he's described as slightly overweight because he doesn't get out much. He likes to spend most of his time in the Oasis. It's only about halfway through the book that he actually gets a slimmer figure from running on his little thing when he moves out of his forcibly is moved out of the trailer park and moves to Columbus, because he actually starts in Middleton. Right? And like, there's a lot of elements like that. Artemis, he does meet her in the beginning of the book, but it's a whole different experience because the task is totally different. But how their relationship grows, I feel, is better in the book. It's understandable in the movie because, of course,
all of those sequences have to be just fast forwarded. The idea of coming across where they kind of break up there at the dance sequence, it describes in the book this transition of being apart for like months.
Yes.
And that is not conveyed at all.
Yeah, the film feels like it takes place over 2 to 3 days, as opposed to the book is almost a year. And there's also, the movie doesn't mention, but he also kind of has a falling out with H in the book.
That's true.
And they don't mention that as well. As well as H, she's a big character in the movie, and this is a spoiler, so H is actually a woman. You find that out later in the book and in the movie as well, even though her avatar is a man. It's a cyborg man in the movie. But H's garage is H is a big player in the book, and her garage is like a haven for all these players to come hang out. And Parzival starts out as a lower character, but just because he's friends with H, and that's how he's allowed to hang out there and meet all these people, and just that in the book, I wish they had more of that in the movie, just so you get to know more of the characters, especially I-Rock, who in the book, in the movie, he's like a bounty hunter, villain type guy, and in the book, he's also a higher level character, but he's more of a novice in the knowledge of all these things. He just knows H, so he's allowed to hang out with her, even though she really doesn't kind of care for him that much, but she lets him hang around.
Yep.
But
yeah, I-Rock definitely had a larger part in the film than in the book.
And he was hilarious in the movie. T.J. Miller, who voices him, it was pretty funny every time he was on screen. So that's another change I was okay with. That was fine. Ben Mendelsohn, who portrays Sorrento, who's the villain of the book and the film, I thought he did a great job for the film version, but in the book, he's a lot smarter and a lot darker. Like, their company, IOI, one of the characters in the book, who's Daito, he's killed by Sorrento and Iowa. He's like thrown off a balcony. He doesn't even make it to the end of the book. In the movie, Daito survives. And I feel like if they killed him in the movie, it would have made these stakes feel a lot larger.
Right.
It would have.
It seemed more like a game in the movie than a life or death situation, which is definitely conveyed in the book much better. Because you're talking about an entire people group who've spent their lives dedicated to trying to find this egg for the sole purpose of keeping it out of IOI. And that doesn't necessarily get conveyed so well in the film. It's kind of like, all right, if we win, that's great. If we lose, you don't sense that at all in the book. It's definitely high stakes. One thing that I did enjoy in the movie, since I'm thinking about it, that was not in the book, was the person who plays Og is also, and I don't know if this is a spoiler or not.
The curator. No,
The
we
curator.
can talk. This is all
Yeah,
about spoilers,
okay.
so spoil whatever you want.
The curator. In the film, there's a curator who goes through all the different history of the
Halliday.
Halliday. I don't know why these names are eluding me, but Halliday and his life, and so you get to see an interaction with the curator and the main characters, which was not in the book at all, but I think is a very good addition for offsetting some of the major things in the book that got taken out. And so I think that was definitely
Yeah,
a
that
good
was great,
thematic
'cause
addition.
When you're watching the movie, you kind of so far you're like, oh man, they took out Og. His role is so small. Because in the book, he has like this super maxed out avatar that can't be killed. He can go invisible and like pretty much spy on people, and that's how he plays part in the book. They kind of like things are like moving around the room at one point, like something falls, and like, how did that happen? And you later find out Og was spying on them invisibly, and he actually saves most of them in the end, takes them to his house and his compound, and leads them pretty much into the final battle. But yeah, the movie, him as curator, that was great. I didn't see it coming. It was a great surprise, and which is weird because it's his voice. We should have realized it was his voice, but that was a great twist in there. I really enjoyed that. I will say, other actors, Tye Sheridan as Wade Watts, I thought he did do a great job. He was very likable as the main hero. Olivia Cooke as Artemis, she was good. I did want a little more of her. They mentioned a little bit about how popular she is in the movie. In the book, it is well known exactly how popular she is. She's like one of the top gunters and avatars in general in the Oasis. But they kind of just allude to that in the movie. So I wish we got to see that a little more.
You just missed that whole aspect of her life outside and being kind of brought in almost on par, I think, with Parzival, which is not really true in the book at all.
Yeah. Like in the book, like she knows a lot. And this one, she knows a lot, but it's kind of like, wait, I think you can win. But in the book, it's like everybody's really good enough to win if they get there.
Yep.
Another thing I wish the movie did, in the book it explained, they use the Oasis for everything pretty much. They use it for school, work. It is really, they say Halliday's worth like $500 billion in the movie. It makes sense in the book why he's worth so much because they end up using this game for every part of life except for eating and using the bathroom.
Pretty much.
So you really don't have to leave the house if you don't want to, because you can get food delivered straight to you.
Yep.
And of course you have.
You kind of saw that even in the movie at the beginning with the pizza delivery drone, but it was not that.
Yeah, they don't ever mention because in the book Wade starts out, he's in his senior year of high school, and he kind of like graduates about a fourth of the way through the book, and in the movie he's a teenager, but you don't really know. It's like they don't ever mention Ludus, which is the high school planet, which is where the first task actually starts in the book, which was it was a great twist when Wade figured that out. But just a little more. I feel like they could have adapted it a little more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Authentically
to the book, and still added things.
Still had that liberty as a director. I feel like they took more liberties than they needed to because the book is so well described with those tasks specifically. But overall, I definitely enjoyed it. I think in its own right, if you just look at it and separate your mind from the book, it's definitely very enjoyable as an action, lighthearted love story. One of the things that I think gets missed too is just the idea of bringing Parzival into IOI instead of Artemis. In the film, Artemis is the one that goes, and Parzival in the book is the one that actually goes and really has the selfless kind of act that allows everybody else to have access to and start the war on the other end, where it seemed like there was a role reversal there in the movie as well, which I think took away more from Parzival and gave credit to Artemis, where that's not necessarily where I would have put it.
And in the book, it was like an overall plan he set up, unbeknownst to everyone else. Whereas in the movie, it's kind of Artemis luckily gets captured and gets in there.
Right.
But it was still kind of I enjoyed some of that because it was funny seeing how the people within IOI spoke to each other and how they're like sending these notes and trying to get things done to figure out these tasks. But the final battle between the book and the movie, what did you think about the final battle in the movie? Compared to the book,
I missed. There were more large robotic characters in the book that you see two in the movie. I definitely like the description better. I think there's more involved with the individual characters and the motivations behind why they did. Like even with Gundam.
Yeah, it was.
There's no. You just see. It's not Shido. Who's the other one?
In the movie Daito, he's in the Gundam, and it kind of they fused the RX-78 Gundam with I can't remember the character's name, but like the Japanese character who's like just a giant super fighting guy. I can't remember his name, but in the beginning of the movie they show they're on that war planet trying to win this glove.
Right.
Where in the book it is Parzival who's with Daito and Shoto on that war planet trying to win a pill, and if you eat this pill, you get to turn into this giant Japanese warrior for 2 minutes. And in the movie, they made you can turn to any Japanese character for 2 minutes. Right. And in the book, Parzival gave it to Daito and Shoto. He says just pretty much because they were more separate in the book, and they were just you do something for me, I do something for you, and they kind of got close that way. And when Daito died, Shoto came, told Parzival what happened, and then gives the pill to him. Yep. Whereas in the book, Daito uses it, he turns into the RX-78 Gundam, which is also different because the second task, if you beat it, you get to choose a giant robot to transform into. I think Parzival chooses the giant Spider-Man robot. I forget what Artemis chose. She chose a giant female version of the robot as well. It was H who chose the RX-78 Gundam, and since Daito died, Shoto, he chose another giant mech to fight with. Yeah. And, of course, Sorrento and his men, they had got there first, and he chose Mechagodzilla, which is in the movie. It is in the movie. A couple of his other henchmen chose other robots, but one that is mentioned specifically, 5 of his henchmen chose the Voltron robots. Yeah. And when they're about to start the battle, Sorrento turns into Mechagodzilla, and his couple of his henchmen turn into the Voltron robots and then combine into Voltron. Yep. So I thought, man, they could have just kept that from the book. It would have made for the final battle that much better. Right. I felt.
In terms of the good guys, there were only 2 robots, where all 4 of them had one and used it at some point in the book. Yes. And I feel like that got lost, and I would have liked to have seen that epic battle scene in addition to just the 2 that we saw. One addition that was interesting in the film was the giant.
The Iron Giant, yes. I actually did like that. When I saw the trailer, I was like, they're just going to switch out one of the robots for the Iron Giant. I was like, that's cool, because some of these robots people don't know. Like, clearly, we can't even remember the names of them. But that was great, especially in the movie when she died in the Iron Giant, and he does the Terminator thumbs up in the lava. Yeah, that was pretty great. Another thing, the movie doesn't describe, it probably is the same in the movie, but they don't ever mention it. The castle that the final challenge takes place in is James Halliday's character, Anorak, is Anorak's castle. They don't really mention that in the movie. No. It's where he spent most of his time.
I saw it, and it looked like something out of Star Wars, where like it's where Darth Vader lives. Like it had that.
It kind of looked like Mustafar, yeah.
And I was like, I didn't get that impression from the book that that's what Castle Anorak even looked like. So that was kind of like, but you'll have it.
I did enjoy when they were going into the final battle, which in the book, the cataclysm that Sorrento uses, in the book, in the movie he activates it, it destroys everybody on planet Earth. Yes. In the book, it destroys everybody in that like sector of space. If you're there, you're dead.
Right.
And Sorrento was prepared. He had people coming in who were slightly out of the sector who could get there within like an hour. He could take over their avatars and finish the task. But with that, when he destroys everything, Parzival has an extra life.
Right.
Which
is true in the book.
Yeah, and he
how
has
he
in
got
the book,
it isn't the same.
Yes, in the book he gets it from Og for beating him in a bet that really wasn't even like
in the movie.
In the movie. He beats Og in a bet as the curator, which never kind of actually takes the bet. He just said, "I'll bet all my coins on it." And he's like, he looked, and he's like, "All right, you got it." Yeah. But in the book, it's just like it's a side quest. Has nothing to do with anything. He's looking for clues. Comes upon this video game planet and ends up playing Pac-Man. Gets a perfect game. Gets the quarter. And I thought that was cool. If the movie went into more of that, that would have been a great scene. And when he was broken up with H and Artemis, it would have been nice to see him kind of sad, but getting back into why he loves games. So that would have been great to add.
Yeah, and that brings me to think about the idea of you miss the idea of entire worlds in the film and being able to transport from one entire world to another. It mentions it at the beginning as an introductory thing, but the idea of transporting and these people all going to this final battle, it wasn't just, hey, we all just show up on this planet. They actually had to transport there in the book, which you don't see in any way, shape, or form in the movie. And so that kind of gets lost too, which is a little sad because, like you said, when he detonated that, it was the entire sector, not just who's out fighting this battle right there.
Yeah. So it was done really well. Also, they don't like Parzival when he gets the Jade Key in the movie. He gets a little bit of money, and he gets a little bit more popular. In the book, it shows how his popularity, like even in the real world, him getting that Jade Key, he gets sponsors.
Right.
He gets a lot of money, virtual and real, by signing specific contracts, and he becomes basically wealthy enough. He lives better, gets his own apartment, his new gear, buys his own asteroid in the Oasis and fills it with all this stuff. He becomes like this super powerful. He goes from like level, I think he starts the book at level 5 or something like that, and ends it at like level 99 because he is strong enough to finally go do all these things now. Where before he was a really poor avatar. Because they kind of touch on in the movie in the race where he's like, I got to go to the back and spend coins. So, but that was really good. Any final thoughts overall?
I definitely think it's worth going to watch. I think it's enjoyable. But diehard reader here, most of the time I always side on the go out and read the book. And the book, because it uses words and you have to conjure up your own imagination, when you read the book first and you have that expectation and you come to see the film, you're always going to be critical of what's there, what's not. But definitely don't let it ruin the film for what it is. It's a great piece of cinematography, and I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, I think it's a great film as well. I'm actually going to go check it out again at some point. I have to take my wife to see it. She really wants to see it. And I'm going to read the book again at some point. It's a great read. It's a page turner, like he said. Once you get into it, you're not going to want to put it down. I do recommend, this is my personal opinion, see the movie before you read the book. I would say that because the book is so rich. It's just so good. You may think the movie is lesser because of it. But I think it's a really good adaptation. It's a good movie. Just I feel the book is better. So see the movie first, then read the book, and then you'll be fine. But like I said, I really enjoyed how things looked in this film. Steven Spielberg does a great job. It has a sense of heart, sense of adventure, sense of fun. I feel like people of all ages can see it. You may need to cover the ears of your kids for of course there's one F-bomb in it, but it was hilarious the way it was dropped because if you know horror movies and you see when this character appears, you'll be like, okay, it's kind of funny while the one guy says that. But overall, it's a really enjoyable movie. That's going to be it for this. If you want to read the full review that I wrote, head over to the blog, flixfrog.wordpress.com. You can check it out there. I'm also on Stardust. I have a quick review up there. You can follow me for reviews on TV and movies. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Google+. And actually now Reddit. I made a Reddit account. My cousin told me to do it. So head over there. I could use more supporters. Not sure what the next spoiler talk is going to be. But I'll let you know as soon as I can.
love Chucky.
Chucky is great in the movie, and you'll see it. And also, I found out what that grenade was. It was Oddworld. Oddworld.
Okay.
There's so many. The Zemeckis Cube.
That's true.
The Holy Grenade from Monty Python. But definitely go check this film out. And until next time, we'll be seeing you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.